Hey, Don, the Auction Professor. I thought today I would address an issue, and one of the bigger mistakes we did when we first started out was when we were going out and looking at big lots and things to buy and looking for merchandise to acquire for our store. When we saw a good deal or what we thought was a good deal, we usually didn't investigate it more. We just saw like a huge amount of stuff. Like, let's say I'm running across a 500 records, 45 records sitting there, and the guy's got $100 on them. You know, you look at the price, it's 20 cents only per record at that price. I mean, you look at it and think, oh, for $100 or whatever the case may be, it's a good price, I can't lose on it, and then you just go ahead and buy it. That's not always the case. You don't want to just jump on things because they're cheap, there's a huge quantity of something, or let's say models. I buy models sometimes, like car models and things like that, in big bulk, unassembled model kits, snap together, snap tights and stuff like that. But I always look at them these days. In the past, I'd look at, just a stack of models, and somebody'd throw a price out there, and I would take it. But you're going to end up losing sometimes on that if you're not examining every one of those models in bulk, or at least enough to know that you're going to get your money back. Like, let's say in the 500 record lot here, for let's throw the price out there, $100 for 500 records. If I'm going out to look at these records, I've called on the Craigslist ad. He's got these 500 records. They all look like they're in decent condition. Without looking through them, there would be no way in this day and age that I would ever purchase them for $100 like that. What I would have to do to know would be to look through them. I'll literally look through as many as it takes for me to know that I'm at least going to get my money back and then a little bit of a profit. Otherwise, I won't buy them. In the past, what we would have just done is thrown the money out there and bought it, thinking, we're not going to lose. It's so many records. There's going to be some good ones in here. They could be picked through. You never know. And just because the person says that it's been in the family, or it came from his mother, or he inherited it, that doesn't mean any of that stuff is true. I run into people all the time that tell me they're not dealers. They're just selling it from the family, they inherited it, or whatever the case may be. And then I'll run into them later on where they're sourcing their stuff too. So, and this happens all the time. Probably maybe 40-50% of the people that I talk to on Craigslist are actually dealers or resellers, or they do auctions or anything like that. So when you're going out to look at these items, be very cautious. And again, as I said, I never buy anything just the way it looks, even if it looks like it's a good deal. I will literally pull out the records and I will start going through them. If they won't let you do that, don't mess with it and leave. You need to look at the records, or look at the books, or look at the postcards. Whatever you are buying in bulk, you need to examine it enough, everything in there, until you hit a point where you know you got your money. When you're new at this, you're gonna still mess up a little bit, but at least you have a better sense and a better way of controlling your losses and controlling how much money you're going to have into something and how much money you'll get back. And again, like back to the record deal. On a 500 stack records, I may have to go through half of them to get my money back. So, I'd be a little cautious. If I'm already halfway through or more, I'm probably going to look through the entire lot then at that point, just to make sure, because I don't want to just make $20 for my time to list 100 records or whatever the case may be. If you buy in bulk in records like that, probably, maybe only 10% of them are going to be worth selling. The rest you'll have to chunk together in either a lot or then turn around and resell them too. And that gets to be a hassle. We've got like 200,000 records, no exaggeration, and they take up a huge building basically at this point. In the past, we'd just buy them and not even go through them sometimes right away. Big mistake. You're going to make money back if you pay, almost nothing for them, but it's a lot of time hassle to type in stuff to list bulk record lots. So we don't do it too much. I'll pay somebody to do it for a day or two, maybe once a month, and that's about all that we'll run on those. And I just try to avoid buying the bulk until I know I'm going to get my money back. And then, like, if I'm buying, like, say, 10,000 or whatever records to the same thing, I'm going to go through some of those quickly and then just either chunk them in stacks and turn around and resell them real quick, or I might just give them to a friend and auction off for me at one of the local auctions and let somebody else deal with it. That's your option locally in any place where you're at, is to just consign them to a local auction and be done with them after you've picked out what you need. Again, PopPsych is a site that I use. If you're not familiar with it, I'm going to actually address that specifically in another video real soon here. I've already been talking about that and going over some of the aspects of it with somebody else. And I figured a lot of people could use that to address and to look up the records. Like on vintage records, the high dollar ones, your chances are not going to see one of the copies you may have in your possession on eBay, because eBay, some of the records that sell only sell once or twice a year, or they sell on other sites and locations too. There's a lot of other sites just for sold records. So those kind of items sell in other venues than eBay. Discogs is another site that records sell at. So you just got to be careful when you're researching things. If you can't find one on eBay, it does not mean it's not worth anything. It just means one hasn't sold on eBay. That's all that means. So PopPsych is a site that can be used for that. But when you're buying these big bulks, as I said, you have to go through them enough to get your money back. I just bought a 5,000 lot record lot of 45s. I've went through maybe 1,000 of them, and all I've pulled out now so far out of that 1,000 was about 60 records. They're going to be worth something. I knew that was what I was getting into, but for what I paid for the entire lot of these records, I've got $200 into these records. So for 5,000 records for $200, that's a killer deal. I sorted through enough, maybe 600-700, while I was there to get a good idea on how much, I'm going to get back on my return. And there were several that were worth several $100s out of that group of 60 that I picked out of that first, 600-700 records. So I went ahead and bought them at the price he had on them. But that's just something you got to do. You got to look through enough to know you're going to get your money back. Don't take them thinking, yes, I'm going to get my money back. Start looking those items up. You got to. Even if you sold them before a couple months ago or 6 months ago or last year, you got a ton of money on these things. Unless it sells all the time and you've had them all the time, go back and look them up. A year is a long time in eBay life to stick to a certain price. The market could have changed. There could have been a bunch more people who realized you got a ton of money, and so they threw theirs up, and there wasn't any comps to compare them to prior to that. So you really got to do research. You've really got to look through these lots before you buy them. You're going to waste money, time, energy. You're going to list stuff that's just not worth it. And if you look up some of these items and they're not worth money, put them in a lot. But that's literally the big key issue, and one of our biggest mistakes in the past literally was not paying enough attention and looking into what the lots were before we bought them. So save yourself some time and energy, some hassle, some aggravation in the future. Look through enough of the items in there to know you're going to get your money back. If that means you got to scan books, or you got to look up books, or you got to look up clothing if you're buying bulk clothing, do that. But never buy it sight unseen, and never just buy it without looking through the stuff in it. You've got to look through at least enough to find out you're going to make a profit. That's when my looking ends. When I hit a point when I know I'm making good profit, boom, I'm done. Unless I've only looked through a couple, 2 or 3 records or 2 or 3 of the items, and I've got a real good one, that doesn't mean anything. They could have spiked it and put 1 or 2 good ones in the front. I'll go pull some random ones then and start looking at a few other spots in the big lots that I'm looking through for purchase. But that's about it. Again, Don, the Auction Professor, please hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Tell a friend and subscribe.